All right, so welcome to our quick little info session on being in a leadership position with Add to Orlando. So I've done info sessions before on what it's like to be a member or volunteer or get involved with the public service project, but I don't have any specific kind of info session or like preset training about being a leader besides the annual leadership retreat booklet, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But I wanted to do this info session just to give a quick video overview of kind of what it's like to be a leader and Add to Orlando and the expectations as we begin recruiting and looking for leadership for our upcoming term. And on that note, disclaimer, I threw this PowerPoint Canva just together very, very quickly, like in 10 minutes, based on an 8.5 by 11 packet. And so the formatting is not the best. That's not a reflection on the Add to Orlando design team skill set. It's a reflection on my part of lack of preparation. So please forgive me. All right, so quick overview in case you need it. Add to Orlando is the young professional affiliate of the American Advertising Federation of Orlando, and we are a local chapter of national networks. So Add to Orlando and the American Advertising Federation are the quote unifying voice for advertising. The idea is that we serve as a place for advertisers and creatives and strategists and media planners to all come together and network and build great creative projects and celebrate our wins and lift each other up. Add to Orlando is unique because it's a young professional affiliate, meaning that our membership is restricted to early career professionals. Early career professionals, generally 32 years old and younger. The idea is you're in the first 10 years of your career within that age group. So because we're Add to Orlando, there are tons and tons of other Add to clubs around the country and AAF clubs around the country. This map that you see is the breakdown of all of the AAF regions. There are AAF districts, and we network up to both Add to national clubs and AAF district and AAF national clubs. So joining Add to Orlando is a really cool way to immediately get plugged into a national network. I joined Add to Orlando in 2022, and within like 2 years, I had expanded my network to literally people across the country. Like if I went to Hawaii tomorrow, I would be able to meet with 3 people that I know in Hawaii just from Add to Orlando. And I'm sure that they would be like, oh my gosh, you're in Hawaii, let's go grab a coffee. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe they don't like me. But anyway, that's the idea. So general benefits of Add to Orlando membership, I'm sure that you know if you're watching this video, is you get the professional networking. You also get education opportunities. One of our pillars in the club is that we want to provide opportunities to grow our members' skill sets. So we try and do things like master classes or help plug in our members to conferences. Like one of the district conferences is AdPath, which is the student annual district conference. So there's a lot of crossover that happens there. We also really value giving back. One of the national pillars for Add to clubs is public service. And so every year we do a public service project for a local nonprofit. And then we also call ourselves a skill incubator in Add to Orlando. And what that means is it's a really great place to sharpen your skills and build your portfolio. So I'm sure some people who will be watching this video will know that this is a great way to go from point 0 to point 1, or like not 0.1, but like 0 to 1 in terms of your career. There's always that hurdle that you have to cross when you're trying to get an entry-level job that requires 2 years of experience. Well, how do you get 2 years of experience if you're looking at an entry-level job? Add to Orlando is there to fill that gap. It's a great way to help give you skills, hands-on skills experience. But also if you're a junior professional or a rising senior and you need to expand your skill set in other areas or practice different skills, this is a great place to do that as well. So for example, if you're a copywriter at your agency and your scope of work is really restricted to copywriting, and you want to maybe try out something else, maybe you're interested in account management, or I've had vice versa actually happen. I've had an account manager who wanted to be a designer, and so Add to Orlando is a great place to come in and say, hey, like I do account management, but I really want to try out graphic design. This is a great place to do that. So leadership kind of is all of those benefits to the next level. You get the leadership experience, I put obviously. So if you are looking for additional leadership experience for your resume, this is a really great career booster for that purpose. I have seen and I'm so happy for them. I've seen so many Add to Orlando leaders used their leadership position as a springboard for their careers. They've gotten a leadership position and it's propelled them into from junior to senior in their careers, or it's helped them land a really amazing full-time job. It's just excellent on your resume and excellent experience for yourself. We also try to plug in our leadership with the first dibs opportunities for some of the cooler things that we do. So like if there's ever speaking opportunities for conferences, a lot of our leaders will be invited to speak on panels at some of our local conferences, or give presentations, or even attend national conferences. So we do have national conferences that we are obligated to attend as delegates. We have the AD2 National Mid-Year Conference, and then a AAF Admerica National Conference. And so if you're in a leadership position, you will often get first dibs to be sent out to those conferences, which is just a really fun experience. And again, looks awesome on your resume. Really great way to meet cool people and do cool things. Okay, so kind of going back into that local level now, talking about our structure here in Orlando. So we'd have that at the top level, the AAF national level and the AD2 national level. Those are like our general umbrella reporting bodies. And AD2 Orlando, because we're an affiliate of AAF Orlando, we also report to AAF. So those rainbow colors at the top are like our overseeing bodies. Then in AD2 Orlando, the president and the president-elect, or in some cases the co-president and the president, or maybe the president-elect and the immediate past president, are the ones kind of bridging between our local club, which is those purple and blue and red boxes at the bottom, and the rainbow clubs at the top. We are the liaisons between the national clubs and the AF Orlando reporting body. And we also oversee, as I'm saying we as president, in case you're watching this video and you don't know who I am, I was the president in 2024, 2025, and the co-president in 2025, 2026. Sorry, I should have started with that. Anyway, we as president serve as a liaison between those two things and oversee all of the positions underneath us in the AD2 Orlando board to make sure that all of our operations run smoothly. So underneath the president is our board of directors. Those are positions with a little bit higher levels of oversight because they oversee various committee chairs. And then underneath the directors are the committee chairs or teams. Those are the ones that are kind of more hands-on skills, people that are doing the projects, but they can also oversee other team members or volunteers. Okay. So what things do we do in AD2 Orlando? I've kind of broken it down here based on timeline. These are just goals. So ideally, every year we'll have a leadership retreat or some kind of kickoff for our board, and that's the responsibility of the president to manage and organize. Ideally, annually, we'll have a public service project and competition. So AD2 National hosts a public service competition because public service is so important to AD2 Orlando, to AD2 clubs across the country. It's encouraged for us to participate in this competition where everybody does a public service project for one of their local nonprofits in their market, and then we present about what we did for that nonprofit, and it's called a competition because there's a winner of like who had the best and greatest or most significant or impactful public service project. So it's just kind of like a nice extra incentive, but really the point is to just encourage us to give back to the community. Ideally, annually, we'll also have portfolio night. So portfolio night, we typically host in fall. We have some really good, strong community partnerships that help us do this. And we invite local professional creative directors and senior level like designers or creatives to come in and review student and recent graduate portfolios. Ideally, annually, we'll host the Most Valuable Volunteer Awards, which is where we look at the volunteers who participated in the public service project, and we'll use some of our funding or sponsorship to award them with the MVV instead of MVP, the MVV Award of the Year, which comes with a free membership. Excuse me. The Addy Gala, which is the American Advertising Awards Gala, that's a tiered competition that is under the purview of the American Advertising Federation. We provide support to that in any way that AAF requires. And so generally we try to help recruit student volunteers, we can help with the gala planning committee if necessary, and we can attend and help with the setup or the general support for the day of the gala. So that's something that happens annually. There's an annual Addy Gala in Orlando, and then a district level and a national gala. And then every year there's a National Club Achievement / Ovation Award competition where we kind of submit case studies about what we did all year, just self summaries. Here's the things that we did. Here's the impact that it has. We submit those to Add2 National and AAF National. And then all of the clubs around the country submit those self case studies, and AAF National judges will award different levels of awards in different divisions and categories based on, again, who made the most significant impact in their local community and club. I'm proud to say that for the past 2 years in a row, Add2 Orlando has won second place for our public service project on the national level. So those are the things ideally will happen annually. Ideally, quarterly, approximately quarterly, we'll have some kind of blog post that is added to our Add2 Orlando website. We'll have contributed to our public service project either through virtual meetings or asynchronous work or in-person workshop days. We'll have a quarterly e-newsletter roundup for members and a masterclass. And I put slightly more than quarterly because this can be every month, but it's okay if there are gap months. So the member of the month highlight or member spotlight, we can call it on social media or in our newsletter, volunteer of the month / member and volunteer of the month. A sweet and greet is our networking program where we pick a local sweet shop, so like ice cream or bakery, and host a day to meet up, like networking. AAF has a similar program called Caffeinated Creatives and Agency Aperitif. So ideally that will happen as often as possible. And then PSSC stands for the Public Service Student Committee, which is new as of 2025-2026. That is where students, local students will help contribute to our public service project. So coordinating with those student meetings and helping them build their portfolio while also contributing to the nonprofit project. And you'll notice I've been saying ideally these things will happen. And I say ideally because the cool thing about Add2 Orlando and having a leadership position on Add2 Orlando is that you can kind of do whatever you want. And I say that with a grain of salt because obviously you can't just up and do whatever you want, but you have a lot of autonomy and choice of what you want to do. As a matter of fact, I forgot one thing on this list is ideally annually we'll have AdLib, which is a new program that we just started this spring 2026 because my current co-president Jaya said, hey, this would be a really cool, amazing program to do. And it is an improv show where we brought in local improv actors and combined it with a cool networking opportunity. And so that will be another and ideally annual project or annual event that we have. And so there's a lot of room here if you have a project that you want to launch, that you are really passionate about. If there's something that you want to contribute to, you can bring it to life with Add2 Orlando, definitely. And like I said, ideally is what the term I'm using because it's okay if there are some gaps. Sweet and Greet was developed to be a monthly meetup, but some months just get busy. Some months are busier in industry life than other months, or sometimes there's just too many people out of town. Generally we don't host a Sweet and Greet in December and in May when the semesters are kind of wrapping up and people are going on vacation or spring break or winter break or traveling out of town because there's just low turnout. So it's okay to have flexibility. And that's the cool thing about being in a leadership position here is that you get to help call those shots with, of course, oversight from our governing bodies. And we do have bylaws and rules, but those are all in the details. So sticking to general level overview, some general responsibilities of being a board member or leadership position in Add2 is that you commit to a 1-year term, and our terms run from summer to summer. So your term officially begins on July 1st and then ends on June 30th. And then if you want to keep going, you are more than welcome to. You just have to renew for a new term starting that next July 1st. So if you're looking to join for the 2026 leadership term, for example, your term would start July 1st, 2026 and end June 30th, 2027. Ideally, you'll attend training and meetings as regularly as possible. And so the regularity of the meetings depends on the president. There have been times where maybe monthly meetings are necessary. When in the 2025 term, I hosted monthly meetings, for example. There are times when maybe quarterly meetings are more acceptable with some asynchronous work in between. So there is a lot of flexibility, which is why I just put regularly. And then attendance to in-person events, again, as often as you can. The majority of our work happens behind a screen. We do a lot of asynchronous work in virtual meetings. I'll talk about that on the next slide, actually. But if there are in-person events, either for Add to Orlando or AAF, and especially if we have any type of in-person leadership event, like a leadership retreat or a leadership roundup, it is imperative that you try and attend those. It's acceptable, of course, that everybody has life, and this is a volunteer opportunity. No one gets paid for these positions. The organization is 100%, almost 100% volunteer driven. But as often as you can is important just for general functionality of the club. Now, there are AAF meetings that you are welcome to attend or required to attend depending on your position. So I mentioned that the president/president-elect/ co-president serves as the liaison between AAF and Add2 here in Orlando. So the president will have to attend AAF meetings regularly. Now, some Add2 Orlando board positions do correspond with board positions to AAF, and so it's best practice to attend each other's meetings or at least touch base with each other. So that way we are all on the same page as to what's happening. So for example, we have an events program chair and there's an events program chair in AAF, and best practice is for them to meet up as often as they can or whenever is required. Sometimes they'll have like quarterly touch base meetings and just say, hey, these are the events that we're doing. These are the events that we're doing. How can we align and synchronize and make sure we're being complementary, not competitive? There are some positions on our board that don't align with AAF, and so it's not required at all. So it just depends on the position there, what is required of you in your collaboration with AAF. But the benefit is, especially if you're earlier in your career, AAF is for the established professionals. So if you're a young professional looking to build your network or seek mentorship from a local experienced senior level professional, it's a really great opportunity to network with some agency owners and CEOs, local CEOs through AAF. And execution is the most vital part of being a leader in Add to Orlando because the board is who gets everything done. Like I said, we're a volunteer-driven association. There are very select employees amongst the Add to or AAF national level. The Add to Orlando board is 100% volunteers, and so all of these things that you just saw, your events, the portfolio night, the public service, even things like general communication and socials and website upkeep are all done by the volunteers on this board. So I'll talk about responsibilities of each of the positions soon, but ensuring that you're executing and carrying through on those responsibilities is very essential because that's how the club stays alive. So that is the most important part of being a leader on Add2 is making sure that you get all of the things that you're responsible for done within your term. And how we get those things done is, like I said, very, very super flexible, mostly asynchronous. If you're familiar with Add to Orlando's current structure, I always say you get out of Add to Orlando what you put in, and that's because you can kind of choose your own adventure in Add to Orlando. The more you put into it, the more you're likely to get out of it, and the same is true with leadership. So you can definitely do your term through all of these asynchronous tools, and it's 100% possible to go above and beyond, and of course attend in-person events and work through each of these systems. But generally our meetings are majoritively virtual. We'll have some in-person events, sometimes in-person leadership events. Most of our files are hosted through Google Share Drive. And we do have an Add to Orlando board email that you can have access to if you need to access those files, or if you'd like to send out some official communication from the Add to Orlando email rather than your personal email. It is a shared email though, so we can't have like Gabby at addtoorlando.org. It's just one email that you'll all share, and then we have groups that we can enable. The majority of the magic happens in Slack. We are such a Slack heavy group, so tasks, most general communications, updates, event notifications, planning, functionality, those things all will happen in Slack. We do have a project management system. This is kind of just general oversight and making sure that our big projects and milestones don't slip through the cracks. This is very helpful for the public service project, especially. We use ClickUp because it's free. So we do have a project management system, but again, majoritively we use Slack. I would say it's like an 80-20 split between Slack and ClickUp. And again, this is all entirely up to the presiding board of the term. This is kind of just what we're currently using in the current systems and programs that we have in place. Maybe in the future, it will be better to do like a 20-80% between Slack and ClickUp. Maybe it would be better to do more things in ClickUp for future board members. That's totally up to them. Or maybe someone says, oh my gosh, I hate ClickUp. Let's use, I don't know, what another free project management tool is. Asana has a free version. Let's use Asana. That's fine too, as long as you go through the steps and ensure everything's transferred over. And then if you're familiar with that logo on the bottom left, that's the GlueUp logo. That's where we have our membership management. So all of our members' membership, our payments, and our email marketing lists and our email marketing communication goes through GlueUp. So I'm making a lot of jokes about using free stuff, and that's because we are a not-for-profit group, which means that we do collect membership fees, but those membership fees go towards just general maintenance of the club and the supporting the conference travel that is required for our delegate count for our leader positions for those conferences. So any programs that we want to host, we generally have to bring in money to host those programs or support those programs, which is why we keep our other costs and expenses at the absolute minimum. Like we don't want to use the paid version of Slack or the paid version of ClickUp because that's an expense that we don't want to maintain as an overhead expense, where we could use our incoming profit or revenue for other types of membership events and benefits. Excuse me. Okay, so let me kind of just talk through some of the general positions. So there is a book of bylaws. If anyone really wants to look through the bylaws, I can share those. But really, the only fixed position that we have is the president position. That is the most vital, important position because that, like I said, is the lifeblood of the club. It's the link between AAF and all of the other Add-To things. It's how Add-To functions. The president chooses everything else. The president is the one who appoints the board members, and even the president has the power to establish new board positions or cut board positions. So here's a perfect example. We have technically a listing for a web development chair leadership position. In the 2025-2026 term, we didn't have a web development chair position because the public service project that we were doing didn't need any web development. So we didn't have a high need for web development. And so we cut that position for the year. But in the 2024-2025 term, we had a very high need for a web dev because of our public service project. And so that was a role that was created specifically for that year. So the president has that power to kind of choose roles that will match not only the needs of the club, but also to support an individual leader. So if you're like, oh, I don't really know if I'll fit in any of these positions, we can very easily make a social media content creation role that maybe shares social media management and responsibilities with the social media chair or focuses on content, so on and so forth. So the president and the president-elect / co-president, again, that's flexible as well, is the one who does all of the things. I typed that out to be funny in the job description, in the responsibilities description. But it's generally true because if there are projects or tasks that all these other positions are not able to take up, then it falls on the president to make them happen or to determine whether it needs to be moved forward or if it needs to be cut. So the president kind of oversees all of the projects that was on that things list, as well as adheres to some general reporting responsibilities. And again, there are some other obligations, like we're required to represent and serve on the AAF Orlando Executive Committee. We're required to do some president reports and report to Add-To National Club. So just kind of reporting to our overseeing bodies and saying, hey, yes, we're alive. The club is doing these things, and knowing when to ask for support. Like Add-To National can provide support with public service project resources if we need to. And that would be a good opportunity for the president to reach out to those people and say, hey, we need some help. So after the president, there's also the secretary / project coordinator / project manager. So this role is another very flexible one. In the AAF, the secretary is a role in the executive committee. It's a very important role because this is the project manager role that oversees all the projects. Add-to secretary position is very, very flexible. The secretary position here is generally responsible for taking minutes and notes of the meetings and keeping track of action items. And so this year we actually introduced the project manager or project coordinator role to bridge those two things together into our ClickUp. But again, it's very flexible, so we can always we could split those roles or continue to merge them. But that's the general responsibility of the secretary. If you're a very organized person and you're like, yes, I can tell people what to do, or I can keep track of what everybody needs to do, secretary position might be a good one for you. All of the light purple ones on the left with paintbrushes are generally like our creative leadership positions. So the creative director oversees all of the other creative chair members. And the creative director is also the one who will review all of the content being produced and make sure that it adheres to our brand guidelines. And then the same thing for our public service project, review the content for the public service project and make sure that that looks good before it goes into the next level of review, whatever that may be. And then to make sure that things are getting done and delegates projects where necessary and contributes to projects if they want. They get like first dibs. So if there's a really cool opportunity to like shoot on set for something, the creative director can get first dibs to do that if they wanted before delegating it out. Web development chair I already talked about. This is mostly our web dev needs, if there are any for that term. Graphic design chair or chairs, these can always be duplicated. Chairs are responsible for the majority of graphic design efforts for both the club or the public service project. Film chair / production coordinator is corresponding to the film chair position on AAF, which is designed to support the general film and production community in Orlando. So this is more like a bridge between the creative spaces of advertising locally, and then I put production coordinator as well, kind of merged in that role in case there are any production needs within the club that would be covered under this chair as well. Then on the right, kind of those maroon megaphone positions are all of our communication team positions. Very similarly, our communication director oversees all of those other lead and chair positions. The communication director is the one who oversees anything that we're communicating that's going out from the club. So they're the ones that oversee all of our words, making sure that we're getting everything done in terms of email marketing, communication, social media captions, public service copy decks, whatever the case may be. They're like the grand poobah of communication. Under that, we have social media chair and social media content strategist. Those are, again, two social media positions, previously just one that we split into two. So social media chair is more of the social media manager role. They're the ones planning out content calendars, thinking about, okay, what can we do to build up our following, to really strengthen our socials, either for Add-to and or public service project. And social media content strategist is more of the content creator. Then there's a content and copywriting team lead. That is the copywriter for the club. They're going to do most of the wordsmithing and the writing. And we also have new this year PR and internal comms chair. So public relations is our external communication where we have them. That's mostly related to public service typically. And internal comms is things like being in charge of our newsletters or communicating information to our members through GlueUp. All right, and then we have a few extra positions at the end. Education director, that position is in charge of serving as a bridge between local universities. So our education director's primary role is strengthening the bond between Add-to Orlando and local universities. So this past year, our education director was the one who started our newly formed public service student committee, which I'll talk about in a second. Education director may also do things like help maintain or advocate for student Addy submissions or even student Addy scholarships or these mentorship programs that we have, or even like intern of the year or other scholarship programs within the local market. Then we have our membership and sponsorship team lead. This is kind of like our people person. So if you're more interested in managing membership, like counts or renewals in GlueUp, or if you're interested in reaching out to community partners, community outreach, maintaining good relationships with our existing community partners, maybe even soliciting financial sponsorships to help grow the club, that would be a good position for this. This is like our sales guy. DEI team lead. DEI is a position where the DEI team lead gets to focus on building programs that support diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the local market and local community. And that is one of our most flexible positions because wherever the DEI team lead sees a need for some type of program or initiative, there is space to build that out. Program and events director is very straightforward. They're the ones making the events happen. So they're the ones that are coordinating with the reoccurring sweet and greet venues to make sure that we are okay to use the space, potentially negotiating for discounts at the sweet and greet locations. They're the ones who help create it used to be Eventbrite, but now it's GlueUp, create the event listings in GlueUp, making sure that they're keeping track of like the revenue and the funding for the events, that sort of thing. Public service project manager is technically the public service project chair, but it's more like a project manager position because this is the person that's overseeing the public service project's work and coordinating between all these other positions to make sure that anything that we need to do for our public service client for that year gets done. And this last one is new this year, which is our Public Service Student Committee chair / chairs. So this year we decided, or for the upcoming year, we decided it would be beneficial to have one or maybe two designated student leaders on the PSSC to serve as a bridge between the students that are contributing to the public service project and the overall Add To board, because it is a big board. There's a lot happening. So having maybe one or two students to help communicate directly with that public service chair to make sure that there is a smooth flow of what needs to get done as coordinated by that public service chair project manager to the public service student committee without there being too many students directly involved in, say, like the ClickUp, or too much of a load on the public service PM to create recurring PM documents outside of the ClickUp. So for all of these positions, there are really more fine-tuned nitty-gritty descriptions on our website if you wanted to really look and read those. But generally, the next steps are, if you want to get involved and serve in a leadership position for the upcoming year, you can email or DM the current president. Right now, that's me and Jaya, and just kind of indicate your interest. If you're an existing board member or a previous board member, then you have first dibs on getting a reoccurring position or getting another board position. If you were, I don't know, the copywriting chair this year and you think, oh, this year I really want to be the graphic design chair, then you get first, you get to talk about that first. Otherwise, you can go to the Add to Orlando website, look at the leadership opportunities page, and you'll see the application there. If you're interested, you can submit an application. And I say application, but it's really just more so some information about yourself and why you want to get involved. It doesn't have to be super heavy lifting of an application because it just goes to me or Jaya, the current presidents anyway. And what we'll do is we'll review, we can open a discussion and kind of talk about what you want to get out of leadership, how you want to contribute to the club. And then the current presidents appoint the incoming president / presidents, and then that president is the one who has jurisdiction over appointing all of the other board members. But generally what we do is, for example, if I was president and Jaya was incoming, I'd say, okay, Jaya, I'm appointing you as president. There's a voting process that has to be official through that because it is an executive committee position through AF, but that person's voted in. And then once it's official, say, okay, Jaya, here's who I recommend would be good people for your board. This person would be good on the communication committee. Here's their application. This person served as the public service chair already. I recommend appointing them. But at the end of the day, that's all the president's purview. So kind of like when the current president is out, we get kicked out. And that's my general spiel for leadership in Add To. So I'll keep the recording going if I missed anything, if anyone in the meeting can think of any questions. And you'll have to forgive me, I have to go ahead and unmute and just speak out. I don't have double screens right now, so I can't see if anyone's raising their hand.
I can think of
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, great. I'll go ahead and end.